Well, Monica Games, you've done it. I hope you've got a lot to say for yourself because you're going to need to answer for this and how absolutely amazing It's Only Magic is. Another genre book, but its new content and tips are useful for basically anything that has magic in it, not just modern magic. Now, before I go any further, the Void Home playtest version 0.2 is out, and full character creation options and a large chunk of the world lore are in it. I managed to keep it at around 200 pages long, although there are still chunks of the book that need to be added in future playtest versions, so the book will be significantly larger, but we'll see. Also, for anyone that has the top tier edition of the book, you also get the playtest version of my standalone Void Home system that I've done as a side project. It's meant to be a bit of a lighter system for those that just want to jump in and try something new. The other levels that support me will also eventually get a copy of this as well, so keep in mind. Head on over to my Ko-fi if you want to support me by getting into the early access of Void Home. I've even opened up some more slots for the limited supporter edition as requested, but already there's only a few left, so if you want that, you're gonna have to grab it soon, assuming they're not already out by the time I post the video. Now, let's get back into it for some magic. First point, my usual, since I do layouts for books like this professionally at the moment, the layout is clean, easy to read, and gorgeous. And of course, as always, the art. Oh, the art. I always love the art of these books. The books are just quality. I mean, Monica Games has generally put out quality content, but it just feels like the books from the last few Kickstarters have really knocked it out of the park. Okay, alright. Enough about how beautiful the book is. What's important is the content inside, so let's talk about that, shall we? First of all, as with the rest of the books, this one is likely to have its rules content added to the system reference document probably pretty soon from when I record this. But there's a ton jammed in this book you're not going to get in the SRD. The advice on designing your campaign setting, creating tips, how to manage different facets of the magical world and urban gameplay. Like all of the genre books, this has a lot of advice and cool ideas to inspire you that isn't actually like mechanical rules. So even if you rely on the SRD for reference, you'll still want to get a copy of this book just because there's so much content in it that won't be in the SRD. Then we get into the new mechanics. There's a ton of new and special magical descriptors, including this dragon person that I probably love more than is necessary. Oh my gosh, I love this dragon person. There are 10 new foci with character abilities, of which I think all the foci are brand new with no reprints from any past source materials. And many of the abilities are new as well, with some called back to the core where they make sense. Unexpectedly, there's an expansive list of flavors, not something I see very often in the products, with 5 new flavors to choose from that can let you really tailor your characters to some unique magical abilities. Now, there are some new equipment entries as well, although since the Cypher system's not normally very gear dependent, this is one of the smaller sections and probably for good reason. Then we get into entirely new rule sets. Cantrips add more minor magic. Covens for that cooperative magical experience, new crafting rules for magical items that's a lot more expansive than previously introduced crafting rules, some cool new effects for exceeding your Cypher limits, which is something I'd like to see more of. Numenera has great advice on these side effects, but a lot of the others don't. Rules for magical familiars, and how to revive magical artifacts. Whew, that was a lot. Okay, we're done now. Oh, except that we're not. There's a bestiary with both magical creatures and NPCs. Lots of interesting things here, and I love some of the NPCs. Everything here is super creative, super special. Then we get into Ciphers. I mean, it's the Cypher system, after all. It gives advice on flavoring, like the manifest cipher forms for magical things, and of course, a whole bunch of new ciphers, like a lot of new ciphers. So it's really awesome. Then we get into new magical artifacts, lots of magical new artifacts, actually quite a bit of magical new artifacts, which is amazing. This book is bloody well packed. Finally, it wouldn't be one of the genre books without a little micro setting and adventure material to get you into it. Although in this case, we actually have two micro settings, really. There's Axial, which is an interesting twist because instead of the normal you're fighting big monsters or horrors of the world or something like that, or maybe engaging in a life or death struggle, it's presented more as a magical, cozy adventures within the local community, which really sets it apart and makes it a little more unique. Then we have New Grimsby, which is that small town vibe, and it has the veneer of being cozy, just like Axial, but it has more intense, adventurous underpinnings and something dark and shady and evil underneath. This is followed by 3 different small adventures in the back of the book that you can go along with. When it comes to books from this particular Kickstarter, I wasn't as excited for this one as I was Rust and Redemption. I didn't think this was going to be a genre book I was going to use as often or something that would speak to me as much. I was very wrong. I'm running a campaign on Sundays right now that's post-apocalyptic where the end of times is supernatural in nature. We didn't even mean for this to go with these themes at first. The players that actually voted on these genres aren't even familiar with these books. They're actually brand new to Cypher. And yet, both Rust and Redemption and this book have been hugely instrumental to this new campaign that we've started recently. Plus, honestly, although the look of this book makes you think of something quaint or cozy in the modern world, the advice and rules found within are useful for any magical setting. It could be a grim, dark, gritty setting of magic and death, and you will still find options and tips in this book that will work perfectly for you. Want advice to make something like Shadowrun, which is basically just cyberpunk with magic? You could use this book, and whenever Neon Rain, the cyberpunk book, comes out, you could add that as well. Although you could do it with just this one for now, no problem. With the tables, character options, tips, and very fun-looking settings and more, Canuck Games did it again. They made a book that's not only useful when setting a game up, but something you have a reason to take down from the shelf and reference in the middle of the campaign. I love this book far more than I thought I was going to. It's so good. They're really knocking these out of the park lately, and it's so useful. If you enjoy the Cypher system, this is on my must-have list now. So check it out. It's only magic by Canuck Games.